G'day taxpayers, a little bit of a history lesson about the relationship between house prices and interest rates, or interest rates and house prices. Now, I've looked at the three rate hiking cycles. I know we've just started a rate cutting cycle and everyone's getting really excited about what might happen to house prices, and I'm a little more cautious than that. And I think house prices will go up a bit, but not necessarily because of the interest rate cuts, but I'll get onto that another time. But for the here and now, I've looked at the last three interest rate hiking cycles in Australia. And indeed, and I've looked at the 8 capital cities that are covered by totality, so thank you for those data. And it's very rare that in any city, house prices fall when interest rates are going up. Very rare, and in some instances some of the increases are staggering. So just in the last rate hiking cycle, so between May 2022 and the end of that cycle in February 2025, when the first rate cut occurred, we had house prices in Sydney up about 3%, in Brisbane up 16%, Adelaide 24% up, we had Perth up 37%. Interest rates were going up, don't forget. Prices were down in Melbourne, about 5% over that period, were pretty flat in Darwin. Hobart and Canberra had small price falls of about 6, 7, 8, 9%. So there were a few pockets where prices fell, but the nationwide figures were still up. So I thought, okay, that could be a bit of a quirk, a post-COVID issue. Went back to the very short rate hiking cycle after the global financial crisis. So between October 2009 and the end of 2010, what happened to house prices? We had 175 points of rate hikes, by the way. Sydney up 7%, Melbourne up 11%, Adelaide up 6%, Perth up 3%, Hobart, Darwin, Canberra up 5, 6, 7%. Brisbane dropped 1%, but 7 of the 8 capital cities had price increases with 175 points of rate hikes. I thought, well, that's, 2 could be a coincidence still. So I looked at the next big long run rate hiking cycle. So between May 2002 and then March 2008, where we had a series of extended and protracted rate increases, what happened to house prices? And this is what blew my socks off, frankly. Sydney, this is over this 6-year period approximately from 02 to 08. Sydney house prices plus 23%, so whatever. Melbourne plus 57%. I thought that was pretty exciting. Brisbane plus 96%. This is house price growth in a 6-year period. Adelaide plus 81%. Perth plus 120%, a bit more than that actually. Hobart plus 105%. And Darwin and Canberra, very similar, plus 67, 68%. So in a rate hiking cycle, we had house prices commonly increasing at 60, 70%, and in a couple of instances, more than doubling, with interest rates going up. And remember that the cash rate at the end of 2008 peaked above 7%. So here we are in the 3.85% target range, and a few rate cuts are getting people very excited. So look, there are a million reasons which I've already touched on in other places, and I'll have to do a bit more work on this in the period ahead. But the rate implications for house prices is not, emphasise, not all that strong. House prices going up and up quite strongly in many instances with a rate hiking cycle. Bear that in mind when you see some of the very excitable people saying, oh, this interest rate cutting cycle from the RBA in 25 and 2026 will see house prices boom. As I said before, I'm a lot more sceptical about house prices going up. I don't think they're going to crash, don't get me wrong. But if unemployment kicks up, we could have house prices still being pretty flat over the course of the next couple of years, even with another 100 points or so of interest rate cuts. Here endeth the lesson.